Hi everybody, welcome back to my latest channel discussion. Today I'm just going to be talking about random stuffs. What's going on in fall and just sort of interesting things that I've been going on. Talking mainly about just what I've been doing, movies I've been watching, video games I've been playing, a couple of news stories here and there, but other than that, just doing a little video discussion. So, my dad and I have actually been watching a lot of old James Bond movies. You know, I'm a massive James Bond fan. We've been watching a lot of the classic Sean Connery films. We've watched Dr. No, Goldfinger, and Thunderball. All great classics. I have Thunderball is probably my favorite of honestly any of the classic James Bond films. I love this. I love the theme of it. It's very nautical in its theming. It takes place on the sea. They really make the villain out to just be a really mean son of a gun right off the bat. And Sean Connery, of course, is just crushes it as James Bond as always. Definitely of all the older James Bond movies, this is my favorite. On top of that, me and my best friend also recently watched the very first Roger Moore movie, Live and Let Die. Live and let die. Bam! 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 But I digress. As silly as Roger Moore era of Bond tends to be, Live and Let Die has some surprisingly scary moments. My favorite part of that movie is, of course, J.W. Pepper, a secret agent on whose side? Yeah, I love that part. It's just so random and out of place, and yet it's so funny. Yeah, love it. Recently, my brother and I saw the live-action movie Dune. I have a copy of the Dune book here, which I did try to read, but I just was so confused reading the first chapter that I just had no idea what was going on. As for the movie itself, it was weird. It was super weird. But, I mean, honestly, I'm super weird, so I kind of liked it because of that. Having never read the book back-to-back, I guess I didn't know exactly what to expect, but I did legitimately really enjoy it. It's definitely one of those movies I'd recommend seeing on the big screen. It's almost hard for me to want to do a full review of it just because I just don't know what exactly I'd say is part of the movie without spoiling anything, just because it's just such a weird movie. But the cinematography and the acting, it's all great, and the sandworms. Obviously, if you know anything about Dune, you know they're sandworms, but they're legitimately really scary in this movie, and that's all I'll say. On top of that, I've also been reading some poetry by Mr. Edgar Allan Poe. I've always enjoyed Edgar Allan Poe poetry, and I've been reading some of his classics such as The Raven. Quoth the Raven. I know exactly what The Raven is because I used to watch the Simpsons Halloween special way back when, where they always had the Raven episode where Homer Simpson is, telling the Raven, who's played by Bart Simpson, to get out of his chamber door. And of course the iconic Christopher Lee's reading of this classic poem. Just good stuff. What else is going on? So recently there's been a lot of sort of old PS2 era, GameCube era video games, and I guess Xbox games now, and PC games from the early 2000s ported to the Nintendo Switch, which at face value is great. However, one of these is one of the most iconic games of that era, being the Grand Theft Auto Trilogy, which was ported to the Nintendo Switch among with other platforms, and it seems like the port job has just been a hot mess, which is very surprising considering the studio that makes them, Rockstar Studios, is usually very good with releasing, generally high quality working games. Rockstar games, I played a handful of them, and while they're not my favorite games ever, I can't deny they're very high quality games in terms of just their production values and everything like that. So this is very surprising and frankly a little bit disappointing that, they released this trilogy in this state. So yeah, I'm a little bummed because I was kind of interested I delved a little bit into Grand Theft Auto, but I've never like really played a whole lot of it, and I was kind of interested in like really kind of getting these games and diving into them. But looking at just this, it's yeah, everything I've heard about them is like, yeah, probably don't want to spend my money on this. However, the classic Star Wars Expanded Universe game, Knights of the Old Republic, or KOTOR, is also on Switch, and it seems like that port has gone really well. Again, I played a little bit of Knights of the Old Republic, but never a whole lot of it, so yeah, this might be one I might look into as soon as I get through my backlog. So that's really cool. Shin Megami Tensei 5 is also out on the Nintendo Switch as a timed exclusive, I recollect. I'm sure it'll get ported to other systems eventually. I've actually never played a Shin Megami Tensei game. I have played Persona 5 though, which is really awesome. I have Persona 5 and I played it. It's an awesome game. I'm pretty far into it. I haven't beaten it yet, but it's cool. Yeah, Shin Megami Tensei 5 looks like another one I'd love to check out, again, once I get through my aforementioned backlog. A recent, really good, short and sweet book I read called Ask Iwata. This is very famous. It's about the legendary, one and only, late and great Satoru Iwata, talking about his business philosophy, his corporate president philosophy. Really good, interesting stuff. Get to see right out of Iwata's own mouth, mostly. It is translated, but the translation I think is top-notch. Somebody that's done a lot of Japanese to English translations. It's really solid, really good. Highly recommended. Along with that, I've also been watching a fair number of anime. I've been watching a lot of Death Note, a classic anime, if ever there was one. Really love it. It's just really awesome, really cool. Now, my next thing I want to move on to, just to jump in, rocket punch, pow! The Nintendo GameCube is 20 years old. I still have my Nintendo GameCube, my original Nintendo GameCube that I got for Christmas in 2002 with my original copy of Metroid Prime. And these both still work perfectly. I still boot this up from time to time just to fuss around with some of my favorite games like Metroid Prime. And gosh, I love the Nintendo GameCube. It is one of my favorite video game consoles of all time. Such just a monumental, phenomenal library. I mean, you can never go wrong with the Nintendo GameCube. And the fact that it's 20 years old, it's like, I was 9 years old when it came out, and 10 years old when I got this thing, and like, my goodness, just wow, time really does fly. But yet it still works good as new. Like, this is like built to last. This is like an old school console in the best possible way. No fancy gimmicks, didn't focus, I mean, for the time it did, but like, didn't focus on like having all these updates and, like firmware and, downloading DLC and stuff. Just good old fashioned classic, gaming. Just a pure gaming experience. And I will always love the Nintendo GameCube for really being, in some ways, the last game console to really do that, really, of any company. Like, even the competitors at the time were sort of, doing different fancy smancy stuff, but the Nintendo GameCube was like, yep, we're just going to have a bunch of really freaking awesome games, and you're going to buy this. And, it worked. Good stuff. The last thing I wanted to talk about was my continued playing through Metroid Dread. I gave my initial review first 2 hours, and yeah, this game just keeps getting better. One thing that's interesting about this game is that in most Metroid games, you'll get the Morph Ball like early on in the game, but in this game, there's going to be some spoilers here if you haven't gotten so far into the game. This game, you don't actually get the Morph Ball until several hours in. However, when you do get it, it feels pretty rewarding, and things just... This game, so far, it really escalates. Like, it's sort of like being sucker punched in a way. Like, this game just really escalates. Like, it gets, like, more and more intense. Like, with every new area, with every stage you've got to. I'm pretty far in the game. I have not beaten it yet, but I've definitely gotten to some major turning points. And let me tell you, like, this game, like, whoa, I feel like I have to, like, play this game in moderation just because it's so intense at times. and I just like, I have to like take it in moderation, which is also in some ways a good thing, just because I really want this game to last, like, savor the experience of this game, just knowing that it is the last mainline Metroid game chronologically, at least for now, and just wanting to savor it, I think, is all the better. But yeah, man, this game really is, it's up there for me, without question. Like, I just beat a certain boss and got a certain ability that I'm so excited I finally got. I'm not going to spoil it, but yeah, let me tell you, this game, it's already way better than Samus Returns, and I loved Samus Returns, but it's definitely pretty close to Super Metroid. We'll have to see how everything finishes off, but man, yeah, I love this game. The only last thing I wanted to talk about was the Animal Crossing updates. They finally have an update for Animal Crossing. Better late than never. Finally glad to see the captain back, the little frog from the old school Animal Crossing games, and I guess Brewster's back too. And I have to pick up a trail of gyroids and those little like mini trees with faces on them to try to track down Brewster and get him to open up a cafe. I actually played quite a little bit, and I haven't really played that much Animal Crossing New Horizons in quite many a month. However, I do remember how addicting the game really is, and like already some pretty fond memories from just a year ago started to come flooding back. I kind of phased out of the game eventually after playing it for more than like 260 hours or so, which is a noob compared to how many hours some people have played it. But this is just the fact that it is a great game, and you know, definitely came out at a perfect time. Now, it definitely was sort of a lightning in a bottle moment that maybe we sort of moved past, but, you know, I still enjoy popping back in from time to time and seeing what new content's available and just, you know, checking out my island. It is quite peaceful just to roam around and walk around, and yeah, good stuff. That's basically wraps up this video. I keep looking at the weather outside, and like today, it's like it was pouring down rain earlier, and then it looks like we might be getting some sunlight, but then no, but then maybe. It's like I kind of want to go take a walk, but do I really? One of those things. But I just wanted to make this video, and yeah, talk about stuff that's going on, and just talk about books, movies, video games, all that jazz. Yeah, like I said, Metroid Dread just continues to get better and better, and I think now that I'm done making this video, I'm gonna go ahead and play some Zelda Breath of the Wild. Thank you and good day! Yeah!